After 6 years of research, our book, Blossoms into Gold, The Croatians in the Pajaro Valley, was published by Capitola Book Company in the spring of 2009. We launched our book by organizing 2 events. The first was in Watsonville at the Mello Center, where 400 people came to listen and to sign autographed copies of our book.
Give it to me and I'll get them both on. You don't have to get them on.
Good to see you, Nita.
My name is Bud Scourge, and we're here to see the signing.
One of these Scourges. Notice he's very humble about it, but it is a very famous name in the book.
My grandparents' name is, my grandfather's Kapitanich from Livorno, and my grandmother's Begovic from Stone.
Pokovic.
And tell us a little bit about, are you from Pajaro Valley? I mean,
I'm born and raised here.
Jane Munkovich, Moresco.
Oh my God.
and tell us a little bit about,
My dad was born here, but my family comes from Luta. They're in the book, their name, and we actually had a lineage done when we were over there. My mother-in-law's Kathy Pekic Moresco, and she took us, her children and their grandchildren. There were 15 of us, Rangers, and it was just a fabulous trip. Got to see where we came from, and so I'm excited for this book.
This is Alice Marie Batchin McCormick. Her father was Luke Batchin. Her grandfather was an Alaga.
and where from Croatia?
Konavle.
Čilipi. And there's some people living in Dubrovnik still.
My grandparents are right there. Look at my grandparents. And that's my uncle,
And their names?
Anton.
Closer, I'll come to you.
Anton and Pauline Resitar. They're my grandparents.
Isn't this great?
Here's my grandfather and his 3 brothers, 4 of them. My aunt is back there. You can talk to her more. She was one of the people that they interviewed, Mary Signorino. And this is their dad.
That's her grandfather.
Oh, this is my aunt's grandfather.
Jedo. That's our great grandfather.
You say Jetto. Jetto means grandfather.
And your name?
Bill Batchin,
Family name?
Batchin, and Alaga, too.
And this is movies now. You have to tell me a little bit about where your family came from.
Well, I came from my grandfather came from a little town called Bani, a little village, and my dad came from Čilipi.
Were they farmers?
Yes.
So they liked coming here for the farming.
Yeah, they had a lot of political reasons to get out of over there, too. Yeah.
And what was that?
Well, at that time, if you reach the age of 18, you might go into the Austria-Hungarian Empire's army. And they didn't care for that because they were Slavs and they didn't fit.
Matasevich, Lauren Matasevich.
Family history?
My family's been in the valley for about 3 generations now. From Konavle originally.
My parents were John and Mary Alaga. They were born over in Croatia and they came here. I was born here on Maple Avenue. And this is my daughter, Katie.
Now, where in Croatia were they from?
They were in Bani. And it's weird after checking the nationality and the sequence of where they were born. They were born in the same village, so it was ironic. So it was really my dad came here in 1906, and my mom came in 1938.
And they re-met.
And we met here, and they got married, and here we were.
Were they apple farmers?
My dad was, yeah.
What kind of apples?
They had all variations from bananas all the way to Golden Delicious, Red Delicious, and they raised them all the way from Corlitas, Pleasant Valley, and had a great time as a kid going to the ranch checking the apples out, catching gophers, which is a great excitement.
Yes, yeah, Croatia, right there from Konavle Valley, Dubrovnik area, Croatia.
And when did you come here?
I came here in 1967.
And how did you hear about Santa Cruz? What did you hear about, not Santa Cruz, Pajaro Valley? What did you hear?
Well, I had relatives here. They brought me over, rest of our family, and I've been here since that. I got married now, and I have family here.
Do you like it?
I like very much.
Book sales went beyond all of our expectations. We sold 1,000 books in 3 months and ordered a second printing in the summer of 2009.
Since that time, we've been asked to do numerous book talks to different community groups throughout Santa Cruz County. But the most exciting invitation was from Matica Hrvatska, the National Historical and Cultural Organization of Croatia, who invited us to come and speak to the people of the Dubrovnik region. We agreed to come in September of 2011.
There's a significant number of Croatians in Watsonville who are members of the Slavic American Cultural Organization. When we attended their annual barbecue in July of 2011, we were able to film our father speaking in his native language of Croatian with all of his friends and former neighbors.
Ovo je od Mekis, da svi živete dobro I godi dosta.
7-1. And what was that? 4-5.
I
book se veseli.
That you may live long and enjoy.
Yeah. Ditto.
Nek ti kuši kude stigna, a Hrvatske sine voli. Nek ti kuši kude stigna, a Hrvatskog sine voli.
While we were there, several members of this organization had learned about our upcoming book presentation and were inquisitive as to how it had come about. We told them that many members of the Croatian community in Watsonville had purchased numerous copies of our book and sent it back to family and friends in Croatia.
One of the people who saw one of those early copies to reach Croatia was Dr. Niko Klicin, a priest who was raised in the Dubrovnik region. He thought it so important that he immediately contacted the president of Matica Hrvatska and encouraged them to have us come and speak. He thought the book belonged in every home in the region.
Kathy and I come from a very large family, and when they learned of our invitation to speak in Croatia, 15 members of our family decided to accompany us, to support us. Then my son Nicholas, who was engaged to be married, said, "If the whole family's going, why don't we join you? We'll get married in Croatia." Then our Croatian-American father died in August of 2011, just weeks before we were all to leave. So our journey back to our family's homeland the following month was extremely poignant for all of us. Of course, we gathered at our family's ancestral home This is a house that's been in the Mekis family since the 14th century. It's the house where our grandfather was born in 1882.
Hello. And you know Nico. Moisin. Nick. Can you? Donna, please. Poor Carol, he has to hear about Mekis shoot.
Okay, there are some refreshments.
Je suis fou, fais mes Mekis. Sad ide na dno da bude hladnija.
No, it goes to the deeper
down,
to the
yeah.
ground, so it gets
down.
colder. Water.
Da, it's coming.
How old is this well?
Koliko je staro to? Taj oni?
Stotinama godina.
Over
Hundreds of years.
many hundred years.
As old as the house.
Yeah.
So at least 1377.
We gathered on the terrace and toasted our father and the 600 years that our family has lived in that house.
We need Ivona.
I'm very happy that we all come together here.
I drago mi je da ova kuća živi.
And it feels very, very good that this house feels alive today.
Okay, toast.
Živjeli! Živjeli!
In the months prior to our trip to Croatia, we had written a presentation. We'd sent it ahead along with slides. And then when we arrived, we worked with the cultural organization in planning our event. But no one really had any idea what the turnout would be like. It was decided that we would speak in St. Nicholas Church in the village of Čilipi, the cultural center just south of Dubrovnik. It's the area that sent so many family members to the Páharo Valley. Then, a few days before the event, large full-color posters began appearing on the community notice boards announcing the event. They were throughout the city of Dubrovnik and in the surrounding region.
We're here this morning in beautiful Konavle. It's a region just south of Dubrovnik in Croatia. And my sister, Kathryn Mekis Miller, and I are here because we're going to be presenting our book, Blossoms into Gold, The Croatians in the Páharo Valley, here in Savtat this evening. Our book came out 2 years ago in 2009 in Watsonville at the Mello Center. And now here we are 2 years later in September, and our book is being presented here in the birthplace of where the vast majority of Croatians who came to the Páharo Valley and to Watsonville, they all came from this area. So the organization Matica Hrvatska, it's the oldest historical and cultural organization in Croatia. They've invited us to present our book here tonight. The book presentation is going to be in both English and Croatian. They've hired a translator that's going to be working with us. They've also hired klapa singers and dancers that are going to be there tonight. Many people don't know that there were as many as 20% of Watsonville's population at one point was Croatian from this area. And so he kept encouraging me to do it. At the same time, George Au Jr. Said that if we wrote the book, he would publish it. And then my husband, Morten Marcus, helped with the editing. And we had a whole team put together. It took us 6 years to work on this. We interviewed over 30 people to get their stories, and we collected photographs from both Croatia and from Watsonville to put our book together. And now here we are in Croatia, coming to the other side of the world, bringing the story back home. And the story that we're telling here tonight is really the story of their family who left. It's a very different story. In California, we celebrate the people who came and built a new life in California. Here in Croatia, there's a lot of sadness about the sons who left, and very often sometimes never came home.
The day finally arrived. We had scheduled a rehearsal. We finally met the organizer of the cultural organization, Marija Radnić, and we met our translator, Nina Skuric. She's a cousin to the Skuric family that settled in the Pajaro Valley in the 1800s. That evening we had an early dinner for family and friends. We went to the newly opened restaurant Koračeva Kuća. Our cousins had just opened it in the beautifully restored stone farmhouse where our grandmother had been born in the village of Gruda.
Our grandmother's name was Kate Korač, and as her oldest granddaughter, I carry her name because that is the Croatian tradition, that oldest daughter carries grandmother's name. And she was born here in 1890, and her birth certificate remains in the church in town. Go ahead.
She immigrated to the United States in 1914. And she was very young at that point in time. She came with one girlfriend, and she'd never really even been as far as Dubrovnik, from what we hear. She came over to marry a Mr. Lasic, and when she arrived, he had died in a flu epidemic, and so she ended up staying with that family in California, in Watsonville, and later met our grandfather, Marko Mekis, who had already been in the United States for 14 years at that point in time. He arrived in 1901, and they were married in 1919?
Yes.
1919 in Watsonville, and our father is their oldest son. All of the food tonight, the vegetables were all grown by our cousin Paula Mihatovic, and we had stuffed bell peppers, and they were stuffed with meat and rice and cheese and tomato. We also had eggplant, stuffed eggplant. We had zucchini, stuffed zucchinis. We had prosciutto and homemade cheese, everything homemade from here at the farm. And then for dessert, we've had, again, homemade apple strudel.
By Marija,
our cousin.
Has made the apple strudel.
And we're all drinking rakia, as well as red and white wine. Živjeli!
Okay, we'll take them back.
After dinner, we headed for St. Nicholas Church. We were extremely nervous because we didn't know what to expect. When we arrived, there was another surprise. We learned that the director of the Dubrovnik State Archives, Ivo Orešković, would be introducing our talk. The Dubrovnik State Archives date back to the 14th century and hold some of the most significant documents of medieval and Balkan history in the world. We were unbelievably honored.
Oni koji su itekako zanimljivi gospođama, ali bih ih ujedno zamolio, nemojte tražiti svoja prava temeljem ovoga, ovo prihvatite samo isključivo kao poklon.
It was astonishing to see slides of Watsonville's Main Street in a church on the other side of the world. This book is a gift to those who left their homes here in Croatia to live and work in California, and for their families and descendants.
Večeras smo ovdje kako bi vam ispričali priču. U Kaliforniji je bilo ljudi koji su znali dijelove ove priče, ali nitko nije znao cijelu priču.
When we finished our presentation, we received a standing ovation. And then, slowly, the audience began to sing a song of national solidarity. For the two of us, it was an evening we'll never forget.